motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, bids for door access control project.
Yes, sir. Bids were open on May the 20th for the DCS door access control project. One bid was received, so I recommend accepting the lowest and the best bid from Cyber Technology Security.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the lowest and best bid for the door access control project.
Do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, contractual agreement with Southern Computer Systems, DBA Cyber Technology Security.
Yes, sir. Seeking permission from the board to enter into a contractual agreement with Cyber Technology Security for the DCS door access control project.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve entering into a contractual agreement with Southern Computer Systems for Cyber Technology Security Project.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, bids for interactive panels.
A reverse auction was conducted on May the 16th for interactive panels for the district. I recommend accepting the lowest and the best bid from Academic Technologies for each cart-mounted interactive panel and each wall-mounted interactive panel.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the bids from Academic Technologies for the interactive panels.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. You almost got me on this one too, by the way. Bids for interactive projectors,
Yes.
not panels.
That's right. Correct. Yeah, a reverse auction was conducted on May the 16th for interactive projectors for the district. I recommend accepting the lowest and the best bid from Academic Technology.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the lowest and best bid from Academic Technology for the interactive projectors.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, permission to install a football/soccer scoreboard at DeSoto Central High School.
Yes, sir. Seeking permission from the board to install a new football soccer scoreboard at DCHS. The DeSoto Central High School Football Booster Club, along with other parental organizations, will donate the scoreboard to the district upon completion.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the installation of a football soccer scoreboard at DeSoto Central High School.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, permission to install a sign at Pleasant Hill Elementary.
Yes, sir. Seeking permission from the board to install an electronic sign in front of Pleasant Hill Elementary School. The PTO is funding the project and they will sign it over to the district once it's completed.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the installation of the sign at Pleasant Hill Elementary School.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, request to pay a vendor at Horn Lake Middle School.
Yes, sir. The principal of Horn Lake Middle School is requesting permission to pay a vendor for services rendered before the issuance of a purchase order. The issue has been addressed and all necessary steps to prevent this from becoming a common practice.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the request to pay the vendor for Lake Middle School.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, request to pay a vendor at South Haven Middle School.
Yes, sir. The principal of South Haven Middle School is requesting permission to pay a vendor for services rendered before the issuance of a purchase order. The issue has been addressed and all necessary steps have been put in place to ensure that this is not a common practice.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the request to pay the vendor for South Haven Middle School.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, request for proposal for child nutrition substitute staffing services.
Yes, sir. RFPs were open on May the 12th, child nutrition substitute staffing service for the district. Based on the RFP results, I recommend entering into a contract for child nutrition with Kelly Services Incorporated.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve entering into a contract with Kelly Services for the child nutrition substitute staffing services.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Mr. Williams, request to reimburse an employee with the sped department.
Sir, in your packet is documentation explaining the request to reimburse our board certified behavior analyst for $27.59. That's a registration fee that was required by the Mississippi Autism Board. The employee paid the fee out of pocket and is requesting reimbursement.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that the board to approve the request to reimburse the employee.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Hadley, good afternoon again. Resolution of intent to issue limited tax notes.
Well, as we continue to have new construction projects, our 3 mil borrowing authority will allow us to issue a short-term 3 mil note up to $5 million and be paid within 1 year of issue. So we are asking to enter into the resolution of intent to issue a short-term limited tax note.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the resolution of intent to issue the limited tax notes.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Hadley. Ms. Hadley. Revised board policy DFCAA, federal loans and grants.
Okay.
One before.
Sorry. Okay. Revised board policy CNB, managing and retaining administrative records.
Yes, sir, we're asking to revise this policy to include federal grants documentation.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the revised board policy CNB. And what was the title?
Managing and retaining administrative records.
Okay, I want to make sure we're on the right one. Managing and retaining administrative records.
Perfect. Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Now revised board policy DFCAA, federal loans and grants.
Yes, we're asking to revise this policy to update language in the policy to more closely align with the language in the federal uniform grant guidance.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the revised board policy DFCAA, federal loans and grants.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. For the last time, Ms. Hasselman, revised board policy IDCAB, credit recovery program.
We're asking to revise this policy to specify that a credit recovery course must be completed within 1 school calendar year.
Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the revised board policy IDCAB for credit recovery program.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Haslett. Mr. Alexander, personnel.
Personnel packet this afternoon, pages 1 through 5 are recommendations. Pages 6 through 8 are changes. Page 9 is the 25, 26 salary scale, includes directors, assistant superintendents, chief academic officers, and assistant directors. Page 10 is the 25, 26 principal salary scale. Page 11 is next year's assistant principal schedule, pay scale. Page 12 is junior ROTC instructor salaries. Page 13 is sub pay rates for next year. Page 14 is background fee, key fob replacement fee, and ID replacement fee for next year. And page 15 is the use of facility employee payment amounts for next year. Page 16 is a memo for myself and request for a $3,000 supplement for next year for each exempt staff member at DCAC that works directly with students. Page 17 is a memo for myself, request to approve 20% addition in the hourly rate of each teacher assistant that's employed at DCAC. Page 18 is a request for a $3,000 supplement for each exempt staff member at JDC, Juvenile Detention Center, that works directly with students. Page 19 is a memo from myself to request for JDC Educational Services supplement of $9,189 for Ms. Moore, who will do administrative duties after her teaching duties are completed each day. Page 20 is a memo from myself to request for a $3,000 supplement for next school year for each teacher at Magnolia that works directly with students. Page 21 is a request to approve 20% addition to the hourly rate for each teacher assistant that's employed at Magnolia. Page 22 is a memo to request to approve the supplemental rate of $9.58 per fifth child to the Met chair at each school location determined by the director of SPED. Page 23 is a memo request to approve an employee to work part-time during the 25-26 school year to be paid a salary that does not exceed 25%. Page 24 is a memo to approve additional pay for employees who hold a valid CDL license and transport students to activity and athletic events. Page 25, request to add one temporary data support position to the transportation department. The addition will be paid for the data support customer pay scale and will be effective beginning June 6th through December 31st. Page 26, a memo for myself and a request to reclassify a 187-day clerical position to a 200-day records clerk for Pleasant Hill Elementary. Page 27 is a memo to add one additional teaching unit to Lewisburg Middle School. Effective next year, the additional teacher will be paid for the 187 license scale. Page 28 is a memo from Nurse Davis, the Director of Health. This would add an additional nursing supervisor position to manage and attend medical 504 meetings. Page 29 is a memo from Nurse Davis to add a nursing unit to Oak Grove Elementary School. This will ensure that we have a nurse per every school building. Page 30 is a memo from Nurse Davis to add additional 187 nursing units to each of the Desoto County high schools that has over 1,500 students, which at this point would include Desoto Central High, South Haven High, and Hernando High. Page 31 is a memo from Mr. Bach, our Director of Technology, to add an additional full-time computer tech position. Page 32 is a memo from Mr. White, our Physical Plant Director, to add a part-time construction supervisor position that would work 19.5 hours per week. Page 33 is a memo from Ms. Hadley, Executive Director of Financial Services, requesting permission to overlap the bookkeeper at Hernando Elementary for a 2-week period from June 17th through June 30th, while dividing the schools and the training that would take place. Page 34 through 42 is a memo and job descriptions from Ms. Ingram, our Director of Federal Programs, a request to reclassify the current Federal Program Supervisor to Assistant Manager and the current Assistant Federal Programs Data Support Clerk to an Assistant Equitable Services Special Grants Coordinator. Page 43 and 45 is Special Education Assistant Self-Contained Behavioral Class job description. There's a new job description. 47, 48 is Special Education Teacher Self-Contained Behavior Class job description. This is also new. Page 49 through 51 is 504 Nursing Supervisor job description, which is new. Page 52 through 61 are your 2025-26 pay scales. Page 62 is a request for additional pay on our new principal at Desoto Central Primary. This will allow her to work up to 10 additional days in June at her daily rate of pay to prepare for next year. Page 63 is a request for additional pay from Mr. Hall, and request at an employee to work as summer grass cutters at DeSoto Central Middle for the months of June and July for a total of $1,000. Page 64 and 65 is a request from Ms. Williams, our Director of Mental Health, on mental health therapists to work up to 50 summer hours at their daily rate. This would begin 6/6 and end on 6/30/25. Page 66 is a request for additional pay from Mr. Culver, Director of Residency, on employee to work with a summer employee. This will be up to 176 hours at $12 per hour. This will begin July 1st through July 31st. Page 67, request from Ms. Ingram on employee to work for professional development resources for South Haven Intermediate for a total of 100 hours at $30 per hour, beginning 6/6 and ending 7/27/25. Page 68 and 69 is request for additional pay from Ms. Ingram on employees to work to remediate students over the summer at Shadow Oaks Elementary. This is a total of 400 hours at $30 per hour at 6/6 through 7/27/25. Page 7 is a request for additional pay from Ms. Goss on supplemental hours for the following employee to work on Project Search for 40 hours at her hourly rate of pay. She is asking forgiveness on this one because we do need to pay them out. They begin June the 2nd, and they will go through July 25th. Page 71 and 72 is a request for additional pay from Ms. Michael, Director of Academic Support, Professional Development, on teacher mentors for a total of 224 hours at their hourly rate from July 1st of 25 through June 30th of 26. Page 73 is a request for additional pay from Ms. Michael on the following administrator to work summer school for DeSoto Central Middle for a total of 18 days at his daily rate of pay. And that's dates are from 6/10 through 7/3. And page 74 is a request from Ms. Hallmark, Director of Child Nutrition, on managers to attend a new manager training with the MDE for a total of 40 hours. And that also began on 6/2 and will go through, went through the date 6/6.
Thank you. Mr. Usleton, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, my recommendation is for the board to approve personnel as presented.
Hearing that recommendation, do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Mr. Culver, do we have any residency appeals to occur for executive session?
Yes, sir. I have to discuss executive session.
Mr. Finley, do we have any student discipline matters for executive session?
Mr. Chairman, we have student discipline matters to address in executive session.
Great, thank you. As a board, we welcome public participation at our board meetings. While this is not a debate setting or a question and answer session, we do reserve this time at our regular scheduled board meetings for public comment and for citizens who have requested to appear. Board policy allows for 30 minutes for public comment. Involving student matters or personnel matters must be heard one at a time in executive session. Each person who wishes to comment will have up to 5 minutes to speak until the 30-minute time limit is reached. When I ask for public comment, please state your name, and if you have a student matter or personnel matter, please state that information as well. Do we have anyone that we wish to comment? Mr. Millbrooks?
Yes.
Is it involving personnel matter?
So about that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else? Ms. Bell, involving personnel matter?
Personnel and student.
Student, perfect. Yes, ma'am. We'll hear those in executive session. Thank y'all. Is there anyone else? If not, I need a motion for consideration of closed session to determine whether the board should enter into executive session for the following matters: student discipline matters, residency appeal matters, attorney's personnel contract matter, and request to appear. Do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will now, Mr. Chase will come back and inform you whether we stay in executive session. Thank y'all.